All right. Today's opening words are by Richard S. Gilbert. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid, who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome, who are a seeker of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome, who enter this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. And before I turn things over to Ting, we have a very full house. I'm very happy to see this. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see new friends and old friends haven't seen in a minute. I do want to introduce our candidate for ministry, Miss Eleanor Kilpatrick. Just a couple little, yes, yay! So very happy. Just a couple little bio bits in case you haven't read everything and been stalking all over her website and stuff yet. She received her bachelor's from Oberlin College. She has her master's in divinity from Yale Divinity School and has done some supplemental work at Starr King as well. Most recently, she's been a community minister at the UU Fellowship in Redwood City. Prior training was at, I'm going to probably mispronounce the one, Rochester and Canandaigua. It is hard to say. And this was two churches, one very large, one very small, that in her time there merged and became one church. That was, definitely a challenging, and shepherding was necessary for that process for sure. She also did an internship in hospital chaplaincy and worked with the Interfaith Recovery Cafe in San Jose as well. She is married, beloved wife of Mick, who's at the back. Welcome, Mick. Yay, Dad, yes. And Tolly is her beautiful little 20-month-old daughter, and she is also a dog mom to Angie. They have a lovely big dog, Angie, as well. So welcome, Ellie. You're so welcome. top of things, but this morning I'm excited. I forgot to do this part, so let me get this going here. God, let me get this excitement. There we go. Now we can do this. Please join with me as we kindle our flame. This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. Now our opening hymn is number 298, Wake Now My Senses. We will be singing all 5 verses.
It is such a joy and a privilege to be here with you all today. First, I just want to name that I'm aware that I'm a little on the short side for this pulpit. So we will arrange to do something next week so that you can see a little bit more of me. But I am so excited to get to know each and every one of you, and I hope that you will introduce yourself to me and tell me about what inspires you, what has brought you here to UUCIL, and how you envision our ministry together. But for this moment, I will invite us into worship. Worship is something we do in community. It is not passively received. It is the action of our coming together. For even if we enter in this space alone, we cross the threshold back into the world together. We may be many, but we are one. We may be different, but we are wondrous. We may arrive here at times feeling unworthy and unloved, but in community, grace reminds us that we are always worthy of love. We may be meeting each other for the first time, but our spirits are already connected. We may be theist, non-theist, atheist, Buddhist, humanist, Hindu, Jewish, Christian, multi-faith, scientist, and seeking. But we are all human. We are Unitarian Universalist. And today, with all that we are, with all that we bring, we worship together, united in the action of our love. Blessed are we that worship, for we will create beloved community. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for hymn number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. And I just want to let you know that this is the song that I walked down to my wedding to. I invite you into a space of meditation and prayer. Spirit, love, all that we find sacred and connecting in our lives. We lift up our hearts, our stories, and our lives to be held and cared for in community. We offer our gratitude for the space to be exactly who we are and invite ourselves into a time of deeper awareness. Paying attention to our bodies and our breath, we honor the tension, the sorrow, and the pain that we carry. And we breathe in the love that surrounds us and know that we are never alone in our struggles. Today, we are together in a spirit of true and genuine community. We commune together in the hopes that we will nurture and nourish each other through the journey of this discerning week. We remember our worth and our freedom and our interdependence. May we hold each other sacred. May we know each other better. May we love with all our hearts. I invite you into a moment of brief silence. May the silence we have shared continue to heal and hold us all. Blessed be. What an amazing time to be a beloved community. These are the times that we rely on each other for strength and courage as we look to a potential transition. You may know that this is my first time as a candidate for minister. And when I told friends and colleagues that I was candidating during Holy Week, one of them suggested that I ride in on a donkey for Palm Sunday. I thought that might be a little presumptuous. Permit for that. But in all seriousness, this is an incredibly meaningful week for me. Not just meaningful spiritual life, because it contains the sacred stories of my religious heritage. Not to mention the spiritual implications of imaging a black hole for the first time. I could write a whole other sermon on that, but I think that's a rabbit hole for another time. Suffice it to say, between Holy Week and what I might call sacred advances in astronomy, this is an awe-inspiring time. This week is off to such a profound beginning because it is such a blessing to be entering a community of compassion, love, reason, and fellowship. Getting to know you all better and hopefully being called. One of the aspects that drew me to this community is that you are not afraid of the different gifts that you bring. To what I've heard and experienced, UUCIL is a community of thought-provoking and curious people, deeply inspired by the pursuit of knowledge. And at the same time, a community deeply rooted in compassion and what it means to be people genuinely seeking fellowship and togetherness. And for many, this might seem like a contradiction. But to me, it's my vision of beloved community. Because I'm a contradiction too. I am Christian and I am Jewish. I am a theist and I am a humanist. I love the sacred stories in the Bible, and I have serious problems with them. I am a person whose ministry is founded in emotional work, one-on-one conversations, hope and justice seeking, self-awareness, and at the same time, sometimes there's nothing more spiritual than studying the stars. And amazingly, Unitarian Universalism makes room for all of these seeming contradictions. They are contradictions that led me to ministry, contradictions that bind my ministry to the creation of beloved community through the strife and pain that we experience. This is a week that I cherish, and yet I am aware that for my Christian and Jewish siblings, so much of what this week represents is forming community around shared beliefs and stories. And that isn't how we identify. In fact, for many of us, the very idea of shared belief is our deepest wound. But when I was growing up in New York City, I didn't actually know that much of my identity was dissonant. My older brother exemplified our reality pretty well when he boldly told my parents at age 7 that he had figured out the world. A third was Christian, a third was Jewish, and a third was half Christian and half Jewish. He was quickly corrected. But being interfaith was so normal to me. The Presbyterian church that I grew up in created a special baptism ceremony for me when I was 11 that celebrated me as both Presbyterian and Jewish. And at the time, I had no idea how rare that was. I was passionate about interfaith engagement and education, but it didn't seem like a conflict to me, at least not within myself, until I went to seminary. Yes. Until my spirit, because most people I encountered could understand being one of those faiths, or even having no faith, but not the idea of having both. But no, I explain. One I imagine many of us have felt at some point. In the summer after I finished my first year at Yale, I decided to serve as an interfaith counselor at a camp for youth from regions of conflict, because that was a place that I hoped my ministry could truly be rooted in my interfaith identity. We were working with kids from Israel, Palestine, South Africa, Northern Ireland, and the United States. And there were two integral aspects of the program. One was interfaith dialogue, and the other was getting into groups of your same faith, getting into groups, views and beliefs, and present a worship service for the entire camp. We had 4 groups: a Christian group, a Jewish group, a Muslim group, and then there were the others. I was gifted with the responsibility to lead that group. Our title was literally The Other Group. And not surprisingly, we hated that. So we decided to change our name to Believe It or Not. Because an incredible group. We ended up meeting about twice as often as the other groups because we had created a community not around shared answers, but around shared questions. The answer was each person there found sacred or not. And I left this experience realizing that I wanted to be a minister. And I wanted what am I going to do? Should I start my own Believe It or Not religion? And fortunately, a friend of mine at seminary, who I told this story to, happened to be Unitarian Universalist. And trying to hide her giggling, she invited me to join her at church because she knew I was a tailor-made UU. And she was right. I was home from the moment I stepped through the doors of my first UU congregation. And this is the experience that I have carried with me throughout my ministry, because it showed me the nature of beloved community. Whether it was working in UU congregations, working with homeless communities and people struggling with addiction and mental health issues, or my work as a hospital chaplain, I brought with me the experience of creating community out of seeking together. Because at our core, we want to belong to a community where we truly feel seen. As people, we are so deeply hungering for a shared community, something to come together around, and yet we don't want to be homogeneous either. But so often in UU communities, we can realize that we have an unintentional homogeneity. We are incredibly diverse and unique individuals, and yet there can still be what's considered a right or wrong kind of different. A perspective that is unwelcome. When really, it's a perspective that is painful and dissonant with ours. And my invitation to all of us, including myself, is to open ourselves to that pain and dissonance, because that is the heart and soul of our transformation and growth. In our order of service, I included Howard Thurman's words that community cannot for long feed on itself. It can only flourish with the coming of others from beyond. And he experienced this most profoundly in 1935 when he led a delegation of African Americans to meet Mohandas Gandhi. Thurman was already passionate about interfaith work in a time that was really just seeing it for the first time. But when Gandhi inquired about the history and potential for Christianity to oppress his brethren, amazingly, he leaned into the conversation, asking to learn about Hinduism and the nonviolent concepts that were empowering to those who had experienced subjugation in India. He would later write about the pain of hearing that question from Gandhi while knowing that there was a potential to learn something, to transform his faith. And it did. Thurman was the engineer of the nonviolent civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr.'s mentor. I can imagine the instinct to turn away. And I don't know what I would have done in that moment. But instead of insulating himself, Thurman used this challenge to his faith to reimagine his faith and transform his ministry. He believed so immensely in leaning into differences that in 1944 he founded the Church for the Fellowship of All Peoples in San Francisco. It was the first interfaith, interracial, intercultural community dedicated to empowering and transforming lives. It is a community that sees dissonance as the opportunity, as the avenue of transformation. And that is our opportunity too. Because beloved community is not just a concept. It's something we can live in every fiber of our being. Every time we challenge ourselves to ask a question rather than declare a judgment when someone's words have made us bristle. We hear something counter to our beliefs and remember that they have their perspective and they have value. Time we lean in to our discomfort with dissonance and look for the harmony that can result. Because we can clash, but share the experience of journeying together and realize that it is the clashing that makes the journeying all the more powerful. We become beloved every time we bring the love and trust of this beloved community out into the rest of the world. Because it is all of our siblings that we have yet to meet that will nurture the most growth in us. My vision for us and for Unitarian Universalism is to live loving dissonance out loud, to embody a dissonant harmony, because we can write a song together that builds up our world. What beloved community teaches us is that we are co-creators of love, both in this church and in the world. We will be challenged by people who walk through these doors and people who don't. But we will be so much richer of spirit for that challenge. So friends, let us not only be a beloved community here at UUCIL. Let us be united in beloved body, mind, heart, and spirit. Because I believe our dissonant harmony will build up our spirits and the world. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community,
or the fire we go out into the world, let us remember that we are beloved through our dissonant harmony. We can transform each other with our love and our curiosity. So let us get to know each other better. This is a most beloved community, and I cannot wait to get to know each and every one of you better. Blessed be, and amen.